Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a restful weekend. Before we start our proceedings, may I ask our religious leaders to offer prayers. Imam Jallo, you have the floor, please.
Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin arrahmanir rahim maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Allahu allazi ja'ala lakumul arda qararan was samai bina'an was sawwarakum fa ahsanu suwarakum wa raja'u min ibad. Zalikumullahu rabbukum fatabarakallahu rabbul alamin huwal hayyu la ilaha illa huwa fa'aduhu mukhlisina lahuddin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Shukran, Imam Jallo. Bishop, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Great God of heaven and earth, the creator and protector of all your creation, we thank you for this nation, the Gambia. And we continue to commit the TRRC and its sittings to you. We pray that all who will come here with honesty, with truth, and with openness, to speak only the truth, to help the Commission to come out with the facts. And as we go, Lord, we ask that your healing power, your reconciliation power, your forgiving power, and your judgmental power will fall mightily upon this land. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Bishop Uduko. Council, are we ready with this morning's witness?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Good morning also to members of the audience. We are ready to start the witnesses here, but may I ask the officer to bring in the witness? But as that is being done, Mr. Chair, I have to say that last week, at the close of the last public hearing, I did announce that we would have an interesting week. That would be this week. But it appears that that was misinterpreted to suggest that we would have a very exciting Monday. That's certainly not that's certainly not the information I intended to convey. But all the same, I hope we would have a very good week. When I say a very good week, I do not necessarily mean a session wherein there would be a cross-examination of a witness. What I mean is that we would have a week in which witnesses would come and testify honestly and speak the truth. We do not derive pleasure in cross-examining witnesses to elicit the truth out of them. This is a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We expect that witnesses would come here and volunteer the truth. But wherein they do not volunteer the truth for some reason, either to shield themselves from responsibility or to deliberately mislead the Gambian people, we would use all the tools that are available to us as lawyers to ensure that we get the truth out of them, and without fear or favor. And we do that across the board, irrespective of who the witness is or where the witness comes from. I just thought I should make those points clear. Like all of you, I do expect that, that this week would be a very good week and that we would hear, or that a lot of truths would be uncovered during this week's hearings. Thank you very much. And Ms. Maria Masingate of Council would lead the next witness. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Council, for that clarification from the proceedings of last Thursday. We will make sure that we make it a very exciting morning.
I, Kasamanding Keta.
Nte Kasamanding Keta.
I, Kasamanding Keta,
Nte Kasamanding Keta.
do swear that
Mbenkalila ko.
I'll speak the truth,
Mbeto nyale fola.
the whole truth,
Tonya damma.
and nothing but the truth.
Ndunte femfola me manke tonyati.
So help me God.
Woto alama alayendema.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Madam Witness.
Council ko Isama Chairman, Commissioner Alisama, Selo Menkana Seriarola Isama.
As you already know, my name is Maria Masingate,
Ako wae yalo nyamenko nteto mu Maria Masingate leti.
and I'll be questioning you on behalf of the Commission.
Ntelebe nyininkala Commission to yala.
Just before we move into your evidence,
Janimbe dunna ila sede yaro kono.
I'll just like to brief you on a few rules we have here.
Mbe lafila ka kumadantambo ya nyoto menketa sartoluti menu belari njang.
As you're already aware, there is simultaneous interpretation going on.
Ko ya fo nyamin kanna soro be kerinne membe ke kan komala.
So I'll request that you shorten your explanation.
Woto mbe dani la nyina ila kumakangulu kane jamfandi bake se suti yandi.
So that the interpreter will get all that you say.
Purunyin kamala menu be kanna soro la isila kumo be kanna soro no.
I also request that you speak slowly.
Akabe lafila fanan ka fo isikari ila dia mo sumayandi doman.
And if you do not understand a question put to you,
Adun ni man kuma wo kuma faham nyinin karulu kono be me be nyinin kala menna.
you can ask me and I'll clarify the question or rephrase the question to your understanding.
Si nyinin karoke puru isi kumosa yinkang iteye wala isi afonyado nyama abe koilete ma nyamen.
For today,
Rubi
I would like to discuss several issues with you.
akabe lafila ka kuma dolu fo ening abe menno koindila nyoma.
First, I'd like to know about who you are.
Follow akabe lafila ka long itelo mujumati.
Then we'll move on to your political affiliation,
Nimbota oton sita ila politiko tembe jumale to.
your arrest and detention,
Anu fo ye muta watu men kata isindi.
and the impact of your arrest and detention on your family.
Ila ilewo muto me yake la anin kata isindi dula killing ay men sababu itafango nila dimbaya aluma.
At the end of my questioning,
Ala nyininkaro bandula mafangola.
I will ask you about the impact of your detention on your family,
Akabe nyininkala ilawo muto ninke sindi dula killing ay men sababu ila dimbaya aluma.
and yourself.
Ani itafango kungo.
And also the commissioners will also want to question you on some issues.
Andon komisona lufanalu bela flake nyininka ko dolula.
So I'll start with my questions now.
Saying akabe nyininka ro da mutala.
Can you please tell us your names?
Ako say ito kang ito ni kontongon salong.
Ntomo Kasamanding Keta lete.
My name is Kasamanding Keta.
Where do you live?
Ako ebe siri mintole.
The science and the embassy in Tallinn.
Right now I'm resident at Talinding Kunjang.
Can you please tell us your date of birth, that is if you know?
Natara yalong iwuluta lungumeng afonya bang.
Nasango Anna etalul nani.
My age is 54 years.
Can you tell us where you were born?
Afonyeng ita wuluta mintole sate juma.
Wuluta Badibu Njaba Kunda.
I was born at Badibu Njaba Kunda.
Have you always resided at Talinding?
Ako fo Talinding inene sita auto dammale to bang.
Ntabe ni Somali.
I was resident at Soma.
Can you tell us what year you left Soma?
Afonyeng sanjuma alamu ibota Soma.
Ama mbota Soma nsodo momo omutanode. Maramita.
I cannot remember the age I left Soma, but it has been a long time.
Can you please tell us why you relocated to Talinding?
Isafo no nyaba munana ibota Soma kana si Talinding.
Wala ale sambo wartanka soma wala hati nambota nangie kana si Talinding.
It was because of too much hardship which made me relocate from Soma to Talinding.
At the time you were residing at Soma, were you involved in politics?
Wato men ibe sirin Soma kabiru wotu molem idabe politiko kono bang.
Ndane politiko tata soma.
I went to Soma with politics.
What party were you supporting?
Itebe politic party jumale kono wotu mo.
Ndebe UDP.
I was in the UDP party.
At that time, were you just an ordinary member or did you have a position in the UDP party?
Ako tumo imu party din kensen ngoleti bang fulung palaso le bebulu UDP party okono.
Montana mobilize at UDP.
I was the mobilizer for the UDP.
What was your occupation at that time apart from being a mobilizer for the UDP?
Ako ekamun doku fason ne kenu ila balurang menning ila mobilizer yate kilinti UDP party okono.
Ntenka senoleke anem business.
I do farming and I also do petty trading.
As a mobilizer for the UDP, what do you usually do for them?
Ako kake mobilizer ti UDP bola tu momena ekamune fango ke party onye.
Eka kuja maleke party.
I do a lot of things for the party.
Can you please tell us about it?
Dukare foisio dolu fonyano ekakulu menuke.
New ato political campaign yo ato sita ndaka sembo do kundi party yo enne. Nkamuru ni kata campaign yo la ninna ta koteke. Nsilun tango soto ya me ya lon kon sinna ko do kundi ji.
Usually, I used to do a lot of work for the party. Apart from that, when there is a meeting, I attend meetings, I go to rallies, and I also, in my home, some strangers come to me who are members of the party also who stay at my home during certain times.
You mentioned that hardship was what led you to relocate to Talinding. Can you please tell us about what led to those hardships that you endured?
Iko kole ale ya kendi ibota Soma kana si Talinding. Afanye mun kole ya fason nule mwoluti.
Kole ya follow tanye nga registration ole sotono.
The hardship started when there was a registration.
What kind of registration was it?
Mu registration fason ne motu mo.
Mo carte fayole kana si ko mo yeta register.
There was an oncoming voter, there was an oncoming election and people were supposed to register. That was the time when this thing happened.
Can you recall whether it was the first registration after the APRC took over power, or it was the second voters registration for the second election after the APRC took over?
Ako foi hakilo bamdala la bang wole keta register follow ti janning APRC ya bankota fo il register fulanjang lombring APRC sita president carte fayo wala mun carte faylom.
Rumo APRC ya bankota wala mu ila carte fay fulanjang.
That was after the APRC took the country, and this was just before the second election.
So situating that with time, that would be around 2001, right?
Akunia Jobe woto mu 2001 sangole konoti.
Can you please tell us what happened during that voters registration process?
O registration obe ke kantumo menna afanya mune ku ketanu wotumo.
O ndolla pati mole ente samba ko ngata loje pour ka Jobe folu nimme manke banko di ngota kana register.
My people from my party took me to the registration center and told me to be on guard and check. For those who are not citizens, they shouldn't be registered as far as they are not Gambians.
So what happened?
Ako kola mune natake.
Mirimbe oto nta fansulun tangol men num fangole woli ji asu kono.
When I was there, some strangers who were even staying in my own home,
they told me
that they want to go and they want to go and be registered. But I told them, you people are not citizens, so you shouldn't go for registration. They said they will go and they will be registered. I told them, if you happen to be registered, I will report you people because you are not citizens. But all along they went and registered. Me also, I decided to report them because that was why I was there, and I told them. So this is why after they registered, I reported them. I reported them. Our people collected the papers and they were summoned at the court. The first day that they called me to go to the court house, I didn't go that day. I was sick by then. That day it was Mam Sanyang and Jalibura Mambai who spoke at the court. After that, there was no other court or trial, and nothing came out of that court. I was there until a week, and 2 weeks later, they brought a summons paper, and they said the strangers also summoned us at the court.
Just to go over the incident at the registration center.
Can
you please tell us where the voters' registration was taking place at that time?
Registration the registration took place at the chief's compound's gate. That's where his second wife was, or his bride was staying. That's where they did the registration.
Was that the only registration center at Soma at that time?
No, that was not the only registration center.
How many other centers were there?
Police station
Soma is made of 9 kabilos and other places. I cannot remember how many registration centers were there, but this one was where I was posted.
Were you the only opposition party member there that was there to ensure that foreigners were not registered?
Ako foyete dam manne mu opposition ala mo londri mo to dinkirato pour ka foko luntangol kana register taje.
I was not the
only person there, but I was there with somebody, but that person also was just a young person who was not experienced as me, but we were two.
The other person you were referring to, what is the name of that person?
She was called Aisatu Sanyang.
Was she representing the UDP party or another party?
Akofo fanambelori UDP party ole toya la jeba mfa belori party dole toya.
No bebe lori wallaje.
We were both representing the UDP party.
So apart from the UDP party, were other opposition parties represented as well?
Akwana manke UDP party o dammanti fo opposition party dole fanan la molu bijele bang.
Parti bele beje. Fengo fe natara parti yole mati nyimbanko ka bele be because all mo registration bati wodo.
All parties existing in the country were represented there because that was a big election that was coming on.
The complaint you made with respect to the registration of the foreign nationals, did you make it at the hearing of the other parties that were there, or you only made it to the IEC that were registering people?
Ako yeo kumo memfuka foka balal luntangol la register tala yake pati dolu la molle nyala jebang fodung idam man ya kumo sindi IEC dan man do kulallema
mole beje bare pati dolu beje masi de bare tata IEC muso yala kay tan dala ko nyimmen natata benna so be dame nga be wala ton tele aji amanke banko di wode andon ka kane register.
Well, other parties were represented there, but I went to the lady representing the IEC and I told her that this person who has just come to register is staying in my compound and the person is a stranger in this country. She's an alien.
Do you know if there was the same problem in the other registration centers as well?
Ako fo ibota nyin kala male bang fo nyonkole ako ketale register ta dinkira ko tangulu to sate kono je.
No, mo kalamuta no beda mento ngolo to la ko kalamuta.
No, I was not aware of what happened at the other registration centers. I was only aware of what happened where I was.
After making that complaint, did anything happen to you as a result of that complaint?
Ako biriyo wasi oke IEC la ulukulaya fo kudo nata kela le bango kola.
Biringa o kiti oke ntaman nata o kiti dula.
After my complaint to the lady and there was a court called on, I didn't attend that court, as I said, because I was sick.
Do you know if the people were registered even after the complaint you made?
Ako foina talo na bang ye registered di wo luntangulo le bang ini ila wo wasi o caring kola.
Ya di be la le kew.
They were all registered.
So personally, did anything happen to you after that particular incident?
Ako biru o kolu be botala o registration kolu fo kudo na ta kete fango kungola le bang.
Kudo na ta kenna men kolayat.
Something happened to me which was very, very hard.
Can you please tell us about it?
Afonye mune ketela.
Biri kaito nati ko luntangoli yen samane.
When they brought that paper and told me that the aliens also has summoned us to the court. Before even the court, I was lying in my house during daytime. The owner of the yard owner came to me, who is called Landing Kintiba. He came to me. He knocked my door. I got up. I met him standing at my door. We greeted each other. He told me, I want you to vacate my compound on the 15th of this next month. By that time, the month that we were in was not even before 10 days. I told him that is quite long ago, that's quite a long time. That was the time when my sickness left me because of the surprise. That was the very day I put on my shirt and went into the town to look for a house. God helped me and I got a house that very day, then I decided to leave that compound. That was Mamadi Sabali's compound where they used to call the road to Casamance. It was that same evening when I transferred all my belongings to the new house. Then I relocated. A few days later, I cannot forget that day, the day I was going to collect my water container. It was on a Thursday at night. I went up to Nandin Sira's compound gate. I found vehicles parked at Landing's compound gate. I said, what's happening at Nandin Sira's place here? I went into the compound.
ndata nga baba Jobe tara sire
I found Baba Jobe sitting there.
nga binta diba tara je
I found Binta Diba there.
nandi sire fango be je
Nandin Sire herself was there.
baba ni men nata Modou Sula o fanan be je
Baba was accompanied by Modusula. He was also there.
ni nandi sire nala dindingol
Plus Nandin Sire and her siblings.
nga ndunta dora ko nye ngonkon kana dindingol kitele no mate
The moment I entered the compound, he told me that in fact I was about to send people to come and call you.
akonje baba kana tanteni tenin binta dibale ya purungata APRC
He told me that Baba said he came to me and you and Binta Diba so that we can change sides and come to the APRC.
na sekile mo murta ko taka ko baba ay kon tol titano itela patiyoto because akay ni muso men be sirinte abe korda men kono ya bay woto itela ko wala kam.
That was the time when Nandin Sire said to Baba that this woman cannot come to the APRC because she was driven out of the home where she was living because of you people.
Ako baba ka be jumal la korda kono
Baba asked her and said whose compound was she staying in?
ka be landin kende bala korda la kono.
And the reply was that she was staying in Landing Kintiba's compound.
Ay baba ya la telephone o bonda ay landin call.
Baba took out his phone and called Landing.
Bida akola la telephone ke loud set la landin siran kaloka.
When he called Landing Kintiba, he put his phone on speaker and put it on top of a chair.
Akay landing akay musome ya bondi la korda kono lafta ay murugi sai.
That was the time when Baba told Landing that the lady you asked to leave your compound, I want her to return into that compound now.
Akay Baba afaki.
Then Landing said, okay, go and tell the chief.
Landing de bediamule ka afanya afaki.
Baba said, eh, Landing, I am talking to you, now you are telling me to go and tell the chief.
Akay formalo chief untele atina waketa chief.
Baba told him that, don't you know that I made him to become chief? When that discussion ended,
I telephoned I chief a call.
Baba took the telephone and called the chief himself.
But I give call akaya.
When he called the chief and said, chief said yes. That was the time when Baba said, I am right now sitting in Nandin Sire's compound with Binta Diba and Kasamanding. I want you to send a tractor to come right now.
If I fuel I am making a tractor.
That's the time when the Landing said there is no fuel in the, when the chief said there is no fuel in the tractor. Baba said, I don't care about that. What I want is the tractor to come right now. When the tractor came, they found me there.
Baba
said, let me go and collect all my things and return to Landing's compound.
I 500 bonda ko ngata sa isan sola yake tractor.
He took out $500 and said, let them go and buy fuel and put it and fuel the tractor. I told him to give it to the driver of the tractor. I told him, but Baba, I want to tell you one thing. I said, I cannot go with the tractor. I left my husband in my house and I didn't tell him that I was going to collect my things. Now, if I go back to my husband and with a tractor and tell him that Baba said, let me go back to the house I left, that's no part of respect, and I didn't tell him that prior to my coming here. I told him to leave the tractor there so that in the morning the tractor can come back.
Can you please tell us who this Baba is that you're referring to?
Baba Jobe, APRC.
That's the Baba Jobe of the APRC.
Do you know what his role was in the APRC party?
He was the member of parliament for the APRC in the area I was living.
What area was that, sorry?
Oh, moving to Letinung. Abe deputy yala tundu jumale kanung.
That
was in Jara.
Was it Jara Soma?
Ako fo Jara Soma be wala kono.
Jara Soma be wala kono.
Yes, Jara Soma was part of the constituency.
The chief you're referring to, can you please tell us his name?
Ibe nyi sefo men na kumo fo kan. Ya tolo na to fo nyembang.
Kafa Yaya Jajusi.
He is called Yaya Jajusi.
The compound you were residing in, for how long were you residing in that compound?
Ibe kusuo men kono nung. Ye sanji jelle ke wo korda kono.
I spent
about 4 to 5 years in that compound.
Were you renting or were you just harbored in that compound?
Iba luaso lela je bang fodung ye bungole soto je dorong ibe je wonya.
Kordati e mfuala koso nala musola kafunyo yaka.
The yard owner gave me the house to stay there because I was a close friend to his wife.
In your own understanding of what happened, can you tell us if you know why the yard owner insisted that you leave his house?
Ite fangula fahamu roto. Foisa fono nye munana ila miroto suti okwe finti ala suokono ya fujela.
Maranga wala to falete ko biringi ya ko la ko kifle ko ay mfintinde suokono na ma mfintinde suokono be korda busilala.
Well, that was just what I said before, that it was the chief who called the yard owner and told him that if you don't drive that woman away from your home, I'm going to take the compound from you.
Wasn't them oppositionality and dunka oppositional lenati was work.
Because myself, I am an opposition member and I bring all the opposition members into that compound.
The chief, was he an APRC member?
Akofo sefo fangbenung APRC lebang.
APRC followed.
Yes, that man was a staunch supporter of the APRC.
And do you think whatever he did because he was a staunch supporter of APRC?
Ila miraroto ay menke wonya APRC nkaya les ya sabo ayoke bankatu mo bamande gole mati non APRC.
Mo bambande mbala mati APRC.
He was a
pharmacy on mbala mati APRC. Barante amirante anyale duntantela.
He was a very strong man in the APRC, a well-known person also in the APRC, but I think that he looked low upon me.
After Baba Jobe telling you that the tractor will come to you in the morning to pick your things, did you eventually leave the place where you found Newly and return back to the compound?
Ako wairi itafango ko Baba Jobe tractor bula je fo sama. Fodun wo samo tractor nata nale bang inata muru landing kinti bala suokono.
Parakita tielen tolo kune larangoka.
The owner of the tractor woke us that early morning from our beds.
Parita ka bire yang kumande ka ndetita kanto nga fonke na katita andun tenke to lanyin suokono nga saw.
Well, I told the tractor driver that I will not be going because when I told my husband what has happened, he told me that he is not going back into that compound. And I cannot go back to that compound, me alone, and leave my husband behind.
Was this news received well?
Ako fo kibaro dun diata wo moli yen na bang. They were very unhappy about it.
Can you tell us what happened as a result of that?
Biriwo botala dun sila mune natake.
Biriwo botala mbejere lono lunkili ya kaito nati ko luntangol ko en samanel.
After that, I was there, and one day again they brought in a paper, a summons paper, and told me that the aliens have summoned us.
Are you referring to the same foreigners that were registered by the IEC?
Ako foibo luntan kilingol lema IEC ye menu register bang.
How luntan kilingol?
Yes, they are the same people.
And what court was this?
Ako kito lung kiti jumalum wala ketanya dile.
Okay, every kaito nothing and beje la lungo man for biri la lungo sit and tata kiti dula.
Well, we went to the trial the day that was written on the paper, the day they told us to go. We went. When we went to the courthouse, I saw only 2 ladies there. Even Baba himself wasn't around. It was ourselves, the 2 ladies, and the trial, the man who was leading the trial. And there were also 10 men who were present there. I was the only lady among them there. Whoever they call and ask,
ye kuma di nginen kay kon nko na lawyer manna.
Whoever they ask, they will tell them that our lawyer is not around.
E ka fote ne ta sija.
They will tell you to go and sit down.
Fanyi mo tan nen kilingo yembe bendi wanya.
Until all of the 11 of us were asked and we were told to sit down.
Miriye imbendi wanyama.
After all the 11 of us were questioned,
Janjanta ila menu nata njeleje wole janjant.
we dispersed. Those who came there to laugh at us also dispersed.
Besirin jelo mamme police ol nata ankam.
We were there. Just shortly, the police came to collect me. They took us to the Mansakonko police station. When we arrived there, the men were put aside and I was put in a cell alone. We spent the night in the cell. In the early hours of the morning, the men were collected and taken to Janjanbureh. I was there for 2 days. On the second day, the following morning I woke up and I told the SO to give me some water to wash my face. That was the time when their telephone rang. The SO received the telephone. I heard him saying, "Yes, sir, chief." What they discussed, I don't know. But I heard him saying, "Yes, sir, chief." After their discussion, a policeman came later called Koli. The policeman told the guy the policeman came and told the guy that, well, the chief said, "What is this lady doing here up to now, and she has not been sent to Janjanbureh?" That was the day they took me to Makati, called Janjanbureh.
Going back to the court,
Kamuru Kito Nyinkang.
can you tell us what crime they accused you of when you went to court?
They didn't tell me anything.
Were they interpreting everything that was being said in court?
Kamembe fo kiti bundala je ya be kanna sori yen na banka moy
ngo man fenne fondoli kanyine kala doronko ni yanko yemen ko man ni kon na lawyer man ne ka fote ne ta site.
They didn't tell us anything. What just happened there, when they call your name, you answer, and they ask you, you tell them that my lawyer is not here. Then they tell you to go and sit around.
After they took you to the police station, did they accuse you of any crime?
Biriye samba police station onyinto police kordato ye tumi kumale labang.
Police ofana mamfem fonye.
The police didn't tell me anything.
Did they take your statement?
Ye la kumakamaluta je labang kasafe. They didn't ask me anything and they didn't write down anything.
You said you had the conversation between the police officer and the other person on the other line, and he was calling the person chief, sir.
Iko ya moy birim me kumandiro ke ka police nyin kumandi ya moy abafala, yes sir, chief. Yes, I heard that with my own ears.
Who do you think he was referring to as yes sir, chief?
Akwela miraroto akafunu njumale yes sir, chief.
Ndela miraroto sabira na safa ya jaju sile because I call ya jamale lanka wala na mirota ataka.
Well, I think he was talking to the chief, Yaya Jajusi. That's why my mind went to him, because that man made me suffer a lot.
After the instructions to take you to Makati, can you please tell us what happened?
Bring ako ye samba Makati. Munena take.
Olun so manda fangole yen samba Makati.
They took me to Makati that very morning.
Bring yen samba Makati.
When they took me to Makati,
lungume yen samba Makati wolundoron ne ngela domoro domono ngalon ko nyimu domorolet.
When they took me to Makati, the day I arrived there. That was the only day I ate something that they cooked in the prison. That was the type of food. I know that this is what is called food here.
When you arrived at Makati prisons,
Makati Kasola,
did they ask you anything there?
fo ye nyinin ka kumala le je fanambang
manyinen ka ko mala birim futata ngam men taraje yen sa muso men taraje wala yen sa atala nak UDP ko ngol be mbala birin singoto fonka ngoto mbulota ko ngebe bonde bar nga dandala ko ngol fanan diala dan ka ay nim fentita lu ngol ngata nginen ka nyin ko ngol ko nyam maje.
Well, when I arrived there, I was having some beads on my body, which are UDP, made of UDP colors. Well, they told me to take out or to take off everything. But I gave the lady a stern warning that the day I am released from this prison, I want all this back, and I don't want anything missing from them.
Did they ask you about your details? Did they put it in any document before they took you in?
Ako ni be dundi la kasokono, fo ye nyinin ka kumalle la ka safe bang.
Men de nginen ka fenna de yen sagle doron yewolu fengol bondi mbala yen nginen kan to la nga fanin kon to yewole saf.
They didn't tell me or write anything apart from taking my things from me, and they just wrote down my name and surname and put me inside the jail.
Can you recall where in the jail you were placed?
Yakilo bakane kasola je ye dundi bunjumale kono bunjimbe minto ma fanne kaso kono je.
E ko ka fola wa toy remind.
Ako that's the remind wing of the prison.
When you got into the remand wing, were you the only one that was there?
Rifutata wo remand la ma fangola je. Ite da man moti je bang.
Obungo ko non dam mala mu je musode.
I was the only woman in that house.
You said you were the only woman in that cell. Were there other people apart from you, that is men that were there?
Ako wairi ko dam man musoti je fo kewlu fanal bi jele mo dolle be o remind kono je bang ni menu tarta nyokanje.
Yente ke bungo men ko non dam mala bi je.
Well, the cell I was alone in that cell.
Can you please describe that cell to us?
Ako selo be nyaadile mo akonoto je mo safo selo nyin kono be nyaadile.
Selo nyin kono to de ya lara male de da ko nyin tabulo be nyame.
Well, inside the cell, there was a bed made just like this table.
But as cement
But it was made of cement block. I used to spread my own wrapper on it and lie down on it.
Apart from the wrapper you used to lie down on it, did they supply you with anything that you needed in the cell?
Ako ifang la fano men ikafene wokola foi fendo dilale bang isi muna famen la selo konoje.
Ma o fengo jeje.
No, they didn't give me anything.
Did you have any mosquito nets?
Ako foi sanke o fanan dilale bang.
Kam mama dabo. Wala kam ma ko en kamonta e kasa.
It's Mama Dabo who helps to buy Muntaiga for me.
Who is Mama Dabo?
Ako jumale Mama Dabo ti.
Abe do ko la jeleto.
She's working there.
When you arrived at the cell, were you given any food?
Ako brifuta ta selo fonkono je wolum foi domor dilale bang.
E domoro dinale wolum.
Yes, that day they gave me some food.
Going back to the first day you were in Mansakonko police station, were you provided with any food?
Ako nga muru lum folo men ibenu Mansakonko police station oto fo to fanange domoro dilale je numba.
Namole domoro sambanya na bar Mansakonko mando mo na bar namole domoro na.
My people brought food for me there, but not from the police or anybody else.
Can you please tell us about your daily diet in prison?
Ako be kasola to momena ela lolu ndin domoro be nyaadile.
Wala fa birim bota jallu men na wolun ne ngela domoro domono. Bar bira bota oto lungolu domoro ni adile buka domoro be mo bankolet.
Apart from the first day that I arrived there and ate something that they cooked in the prison there, I didn't eat anything else from the prison there because whatever they bring is full of sand.
Then how did you survive with respect to food?
Ako sila ibaluta nyadile domoro la karola.
Ala ni Mama Dabo.
Because with God's help, it was Mama Dabo who was providing food.
What food did she provide for you?
Ako mama kamun domoro fason le nati.
Ala kontongo me ka nata ka fero ke wolela. Pura e fembondi jente fanansi men domono.
The lunch they used to bring to her, she will divide it and give me part of that food.
Were you allowed to shower or go out?
Ako foi ka sonna ba ye ku anin ka funti selo kono.
Ndaka 2 days ke wo selo kono le manjio la mbalo bala wamba 3 days manjio la mbalo bala.
I used to spend 2 to 3 days in that cell without taking bath.
Can you please explain your break periods while you were in prison? What times were you allowed to go out? That is, if you were even allowed to go out.
Ako wati ning wati jumalum ika song purute finti selo nyin kono ning misali kama ika song puriye finti.
Ala war ika daele wala.
They always allow us to come out at 6 o'clock.
Were you allowed to have any form of interactions with other inmates, or were there any other female inmates apart from you there?
Ako foi ka sonne inin kaso lanka dole dun nyo kono ka nyo hadama ya fodun musudul fanale bijele menu be kaso kono je menu sorong.
Ndebe selo men kono da musute oto fo ngatili nani soto je lulu njango inata muske baren kilin nati je no nata taraje.
I was there for 4 days without anybody else. I was alone there until the 4th day. They brought in an old lady who stayed with me there.
How long did you remain in Makati prison?
Akoye wati jelle ke Makati kasola je.
Kar kilin tilitanga wala keje.
I was there for 1 month, 10 days.
Within that 1 month, 10 days, was your family allowed to visit you?
Yo kar kilin tiltango men kije fo ika sonne pro ila badingulu ila dimbaya molu yene jube bang.
Ni nata je fana sinya kilin denke ma nata jelde yewo bulalen ni woyo bar na manke wot man na moje bar birim fentino mo menu tata je ka fanyelen tata je le man iman som pour ngeje.
Well, my husband was allowed to see me only once, but no other person was allowed to see me. But after I left the prison, people were telling me that every day we come there, but they don't allow us to see you.
Were you taken before any court during that period?
They never took me to any court.
Were you allowed any access to a lawyer, or were you told that you in fact have a right to a lawyer?
Fodum ina ne son talebang eni lawyer e nyoje kadia mu mensi lawyer fodum wala ye nyim foyenko nyimu ila nyantole ti pour lawyer ta.
Nden lawyer ma nyoje no because ye silo men foko lawyer nyanta na la lawyer man ne to lento ko mandi kiti la lawyer man na o jannin lawyer binale yento le sambe tatan sorom makate.
I never saw any lawyer. We were not allowed. And at the time of the trial, when our lawyer was supposed to come and didn't appear, well, we didn't see him until we were packed and taken to Janjanbureh prison.
Can you tell us how those days were, the 1 month, 10 days that you spent at Makati prison? How were those days for you?
Wotilo lumenu yeke kasola je wo karkilin til tangum isa fono wo wuce okono ila kolu be nyadile. That spoiled a lot of things for me. A lot of things were spoiled for me.
Mentally, how were you feeling, given that you were not told that you committed any offense? You were just taken to Makati without any reason. How were you feeling mentally?
Ako ila miraroto isondo mo be nyaadile wairi ye muta me tumi fenna mankuma foye ye muta ye samba kasola ke sindi la je wo nyaadro man fem foye wo aye sondo mo ke nyaadile no ngotumo
wo sondo mo batande ba because atinna le fanga kuran soto fa manyana wo silo lente high blood soto.
Well, I suffered because it had a serious impact on me, because that was the time I developed high blood pressure, which I never suffered from before.
Can you tell us what then led to your release?
Bisafono nyabang munena take hanfo yebula.
Eko ko yembe charge ko dola ngamela wuli fula malo njelo kungoku.
Well, one day told us that we were charged to pay, each one of us to pay $2,000 each. I think the 11 of us, each one has to pay 2,000, but the party tried and collected money and paid on behalf of us.
Did they tell you what the purpose of that money was that they were supposed to pay?
Ya fuali na bang alio kolomenjo aliajo dalili jumale kam.
Hanisama malo.
Up to tomorrow, we don't know what that money was for.
Can you tell us what happened after your release?
Biri bula dum fana mune natake.
biri mbula ngamira nga lokum kilin neken na bugo kono usen dabu botan nan tola bolongo kono.
After my release, I spent only 1 week in my house. Then Usainu Dabo arrived from his tour in the provinces.
When he
came, we were supposed to have a meeting at Jara Pakalinding, but it was late, so we postponed the meeting. We spent the night. The following day, we went to Jara Pakalinding and held a meeting there. After the meeting, people went home. The shoes I was wearing got spoiled. There was somebody in Pakali who used to sell wood. He's called Keta Jamme. He gave me money to go and buy shoes. I sat under the community center's veranda in Pakali there. I sent a taxi driver to buy a pair of slippers, shoes for me from the riverside. Before the return of the taxi driver, people dispersed, everybody went home. When the taxi driver returned and gave me the pair of shoes, I joined a vehicle. I came and alighted at the first petrol station belonging to Sambujang. When I alighted from the vehicle, I saw the place was so clear, no one was around. I said, okay, what has happened here? No one is around in Soma? Somebody was just standing nearby who told me that you are here wearing a UDP collar. That person told me Baba Jobe is fighting people from the UDP party. That's why everybody has left this place. That's the time I returned to my home. When I entered the home, I changed my shirt. It's not because of fear that I changed my shirt. I came up to Sehu Suso's compound gate. I found 2 ladies there who were also supposed to go after Usainu to Kabada. We all joined a vehicle and went to Kabada. When we returned from Kabada, we continued the tour with Usainu up to Kuinala. We were at the meeting in Kuinala. Jara Kamara called me aside. Jara told me that she has just received a call from somebody in Soma saying that when we return to Soma, they will arrest us. She said she was going home, but I told her that I'm not going back. I am traveling Usainu. Wherever he goes, I will go with him. Myself and Mamu Sanyang. But Mam agreed to come with Usainu up to Kombo. Jara also left me there and went home. I didn't go home. I went along with Usainu until where he stopped. I came back to my home. The following morning, I went to Sehu Suso's compound. I found his wife there called Mama Jobe at the compound gate. She told me, try to do something else. If you have anywhere else to go, leave this place and go away. Because Fatu said she is going to report you. I asked her, what have I done for Fatu to go and report me? And what she told me that Fatu told her that just sit down and wait. They will come and arrest this woman and take her away. That very day, after lunch, I started to brew some green tea. I was sitting there ready to brew some green tea. I was sitting down on a chair. That's the time when I saw a policeman coming into my compound. They used to call him Sar. He's from Jara Tonya Taba. He came and found me sitting down after exchanging greetings. He told me that you are wanted at the station. I asked him, which station? He said, at the Karantaba police station. I told him to go, I am coming. He said, he cannot leave me behind, we have to go together. I told him, and we are not going together. You can go, I'll find you there. But we will not go together. He also said he will not leave me behind. I left him standing outside. I went into my room. My uncle's wife called Jomfolo, came and talked to the policeman and told him to go. She will come. Then I went and performed ablution. I prayed the 5 o'clock prayers. Then I took my dress. I prepared myself so that if I go, because I suspected that when I go, I will not come back. Whatever I am supposed to go with, I went along with those things. I found another policeman there called Jaju. After exchanging greetings, he told me that you have been reported here. I asked him, who reported me here? He said, wait, the person who reported you will be coming very soon. He told me to sit behind the counter. From 5 o'clock until 9 o'clock at night, I was sitting behind the counter. Whenever I asked him, he told me the person who reported you will be coming. Until the following morning, the person didn't arrive. At 9 o'clock in the morning, he left, but before leaving, they opened the doors of the cell and put me inside. I was in that cell for 13 good days. In that cell where I was, where I used to squat, the wrapper I was even tying all got torn there. I used to take my head tie and tie it on top of the wrapper. On the 13th day, they told me to find somebody to bail me. And I told them I have nobody to bail me. I was sitting in their compound there. Somebody called Kadi Dabo Dobali came. My friend also called Farsane also came there. Nandin Sire I mentioned before also came. I saw something wrapped in plain paper in the hands of Farsane. What was wrapped in that paper, I didn't know. What she told me was that she was sent by Baba, and she said, she told me that Baba gave her $30,000 for me to leave the UDP and go to the APRC.
mfata nyen kodo la le kabo bi la fojanne samante fata nyen kodo.
I told her to return the money to Baba Jobe and inform him that I don't want that money. Let him take the money. I don't want it.
Nke ma do malen kadida bota nata jonko to tanko ta ko nyaka samandi.
My husband's, Kadidabo is my husband's younger sister. She knelt before me and told me, Kasamanding.
Ako nya wakili ya kodota ya foi dato doronko. Mbota UDP lan data APRC wala fisata bojanka e kadisa le fisata nyawte ntake nola. Sinta nangan yokoro badlam fata kodot.
She told me, I appeal to you, just take the money and just tell him by mouth that you have accepted so that you can leave this place. I told Kadi that death is better than me for doing that. I will not do that and I don't want to and I will not change my sides. When she was getting up from the kneeling, she told me, Kasamanding, I'm surprised about you. Farsane told me that, well, Baba told me this. Baba told her that if you show her this money, she will not accept it because something else passed between us before. I know she's a stubborn person. She will not take this money. They returned. They returned with that parcel. I don't know whether that parcel contained the money or not, but they returned with it and I didn't take it.
When you arrived at the police station, did they tell you that you're being charged for a particular offense?
The person they said who reported me didn't appear. I never saw that person. Much more, they never told me that you are being charged for so and so crime.
Did they collect your statement there?
They didn't take any statement from me.
Did they inform you of your rights to legal counsel?
Police station police station they didn't tell me anything at the police station there.
Apart from the fact that they told you that someone reported you at the station, did they tell you anything else apart from it?
Kafoko mole iboleje wokola mole ila kumofuta ndima je wokola foi kumado foi na bamenni otekilindi. They didn't tell me anything. I was there all along, but nothing else.
Did they tell you what the report entailed?
Yeah, foi na bamenye ila kumakango foi fodung wala kumakango yo fanam foi na bang amari ko en nying fo yo fanam foi na ba.
Ikonyene doronko mole report janko ale e kabina bar fosa masoma damaje folot ndumala kumakango moy.
What they told me was that somebody reported you here and the person will be coming. The person never appeared. And apart from that simple statement that somebody reported you here, they never told me anything, and I never saw that person.
You mentioned that the person that came to arrest you is someone they call Sar. Can you recall his first name?
Ako ikombe nate imutake Samba police station to ikafaine Sar. Foya to follow lan ne bang.
Ndola jara de ka kumande Sar le.
Well, jara there everybody used to call him Sar.
Sorry. Apart from that Sar, can you recall any police officer that you can remember at that police station?
Sar kola foi hakilo si bula police dola je station oto je membe do kola je otumo Sar kola.
Sar bejele Bakari Jaju beje Sergeant Tunkara beje.
Sar was there, Bakari Jaju was there, Sergeant Tunkara was there.
As far as you can recall, do you know who the head of that police station was?
Ita hakilo la miraroto. Malum fo hakilo samuta jumalum police la nyaton koti o police station otoji.
The Sergeant Tunkara le remember jede ila OC de hakilo bota otola.
I cannot remember the name of their OC, but I can remember Sergeant Tunkara was there.
As at the time you were at the police station, apart from the people that came to bail you, was your family allowed access to you?
Yo watu membeke police station otuje. Fo omolu men ko se ibel fo ila dimbaya lu mobe kono le membula mennate jabang.
Otumo dindin kilin na bentabulu.
At that time I had only one child.
Amam fem fangasi.
He was very small by that time.
Par puro fangoy nanje kata karambungo fangoto puro nanya nyoja ibukasom.
Even that child to see me, they don't allow it. For him, even going to school to pass by, they don't allow it.
Police all bend fangalu beji da maleke bulo fay nyokan. E kadino solon kila kata karambungo.
The policemen who were in the station used to collect money from each other and give it to the child as lunch to go to school.
Sorry, Mbaka Sama, do you need some time?
Ako fwebe sole leke ida handin do mandimbang.
This must have been a very difficult period for you.
Ako ayalon ko wato kete wati kolembale tinu.
Can you please tell us what is making you emotional right now?
Ako fo sa afono nyi mum bala fale dunte la ten sain.
Can you please give her some water, and maybe we'll give her just a couple of minutes to compose herself?
Eko jio ming for is a minute danta di la pro sondo mo sitenku hakilo sitenku.
Can you continue now?
Ako fo isi continue no la saimbang. Yes.
Please tell us what is making you very emotional at this moment right now.
Ako nyin tembe mune bala fasi duntela mune hakilo bulata mune la meye bala fata saim fo kakumbo.
Mbala fata mfangole.
I'm sorry for myself.
Ibe okelantela watu menanta mandin so do watu.
When these things were happening to me,
o didingo membente bulo kono yen so ala wandi dingo la na e koleya mentake na sorondiro ko nani wato bi ay bata mentake.
Well, I didn't have my own child at that time, but that child was given to me. He is not my biological child, but I thought of the suffering that child went through during that time. That's what's making me emotional.
After refusing the money that was handed over to you, can you please tell us what happened afterwards?
Ako biribalanta okoloto iko inyanta mendile la foya murundi wokola mune natake.
Biro kata murundi la kota selo kono la kota.
After that they returned me back into the cell again.
Fast am also manda kota.
Till the following morning.
Enata fongata ni solata ne ben kumandira.
Then they told me to go home. When they need me, they'll call me. I spend a whole month every day. I have to go and report. Every day I have to go and report in the morning for a full month.
What was the distance from where you were residing to the police station?
Iya bedaming anim police station o nyintema a jamfo be nyadile.
A jamfo ka bo jankata Johnson oto ka ko fu nandamento la yo sile.
Well, it could be from here to the main road where you have to alight and take the bend and come in here.
During that period, can you please tell us how your family was faring when you were locked up?
Ako wato mem ibe umutokono ila dimbaya lu men tusokono lu benu nyadile
Be mo la bolu chafore. Wato do li ya do wato do lu ta do bol.
Well, they were being aided by people. My husband used to go and buy food from the restaurant, bring it home, and they'll eat it.
You mentioned that this time around you were detained, for a period of 13 days.
And
it was at a police station.
And police station otolem.
Can you please describe the cell at the police station where you were?
Akoy bo selo men kono police station otoje ise fem fono nyo selo fanga be nyadile.
Wo selo o kamanta da jonko do dulado ko selo nyim mam fano mote la no laje handi yesi fanga pour yesi ko fanga tidinte e buka ke noji.
That cell was too small. You can only sit down, and in fact to stretch your legs is impossible. It was a very tight small cell.
Were you provided with any beddings while you were there?
Foi laran dila le bang isemeng fene ke lakang.
Fom fanga ne membotan na bungo kono.
Apart from the things I left with from my house, apart from those things, they gave me nothing.
What things did you leave from your house with?
Ako ini mum fenu le botela bungo kono ye fankanta menula.
Rembita da ngana ta fe atale ngakulara ota ngadarabota.
When I was going, I went with a bed sheet. A local fan plus another thing which I needed, like a pillow.
From what you're telling us, it's as if you were already prepared knowing that you will be detained.
Akoy tata je nyami ni ofenglo menu tata munta ko ipareta le koddo ka nyin kamako ibe mutala jele.
Angbe yillar ngomako ibe mutala jele.
Yes, I was expecting to be detained. That's why I went with all those things.
Why were you expecting to be detained?
Munana yenyim muta ko ibe mutala jele.
Nsabita abawo moya fanyen ko birum futa daje police of fire fanyen ko moya report andu jandin kata moya fanyen ko iko be report la.
Even before going there, they told me that somebody said he is going to report you, and they told me the name of the person who said he was going to report me. So this is why I went prepared.
Why do you think you were detained for a period on two occasions without being accused of any offense? Why do you think you were particularly targeted and detained on 2 occasions?
Muna na yenyi muta han fosi nyafula ike nyatilila ike muta fosi nyafula nyong ike muta ike sindi dula kiling fo dalila bala la banga itala miro to meya kendi bokelela.
Ndaman dalili yal danga amira na UDP nkaya aninna musu ya naso ikam muta o dalilo.
Just for 2 things. Because I belong to the UDP party, that's the first reason I can give. Secondly, because I'm a woman. I'm helpless, that's why.
During the second period when you were detained, did your party do anything to ensure that you were released?
Priye mutasinya fulanja unying, patio nying ye kule kataba mpuru kaje ko yebula.
Alo nintolo bukadia. Ni nate bukaso nintolo yedia mbari kanaje le nitolo nyato ko itolo mende yemute nitolo kadiamu.
Yes, they used to come there. Party members used to come there. They don't allow them to talk to me, but they used to talk to the guys responsible who were at the prison.
Can you please tell us what eventually led to you being released from the police station?
Ko folung isa fono nyela ba munena ta sabu foye bula kabo police station otuji.
Dede malo me asabu yanku mande asa biri yemfintini we kodo di namata asamo yemuru nda asamo ko nyene tane solatel. O solo karkili mberi poto laje. Fosama imam fem fanye follow de mbela moyka.
When I rejected the money and they went away, they returned me to the cell I spent the night there till the following morning. That's the time they told me to go home. When we need you, we will call you. And they told me to be reporting. So for that period, for 1 full month, I used to go to report every morning.
Can you tell us what the impact of your detention has been on you personally, psychologically?
Ako ila mira roto, ila umuto yo kolea mentaki wonya. Ay mune sababu ila sondo moto, ila mira roto, ila hadamayato.
Ay nto sondo mo batande ay mira jama dinna ay mantora jama dimbala jato fangola.
I suffered a lot, physically and mentally, and in fact, I suffered physically because of the time I spent in that cell. Well, I don't know anything. I suffered anyway, that's what I can say.
How about your family? You mentioned a child that you had adopted. What impact has your detention been on that child?
Ko dindingu membe bulu wonya idinta nyaw nyandi mbara be tele bulo kono ila mira roto ay mum mantora le siwo dindingu ma
O batata ba kuranta le fa foya admin l'hôpital to be nande sire men bula kuranta bulle fa bu kala fi fango moyen to fa dala nim mo date ko ben to fa la kay bulo muta akaw mari bulo muta la fi dindi bat akala te dindi wala be batari nyame.
That child suffered tremendously because at the latter part he felt so sick that people who come into the house, because the child was taken care of by Nanding Sire. If somebody comes in there and wants to mention my name, they'll just take you to tell you to go out, because at the mention of my name, it makes the child agitated.
How old was that child at that time?
According to the child was 7 years old.
After this incident, did you remain in Soma?
Ako biro botala fo ina tatu Soma le bang.
Ndata bo Soma ba man toro le be men nata birim bota soron dim fa men nata ken na wala fa nata jawya ba na firo men fa mbala mbuko keno akelante nim fintita nyin dobul kabineto nyi APRC kamba dingo de kawale fandi tep ningita suto kata abanta bi njata siloka.
Well, it is the hardship I mentioned which made me leave Soma. After they left me from the police station, I went home. But even my business, I cannot continue, because what happens, they used to fill a double cabin pickup with boys who will come and block the way where I used to pass, and they will keep on harassing me daily. So this is why I said I cannot remain here.
Ngalundo je fango lundo kuntuta nyato siloka wolum bortale ninna firi fango lundo ta police post la station ola kon.
One day I had to run with my baggages and went into the police station because they really harassed me seriously on that day.
Ila odo biro tambita la inata ken nako teke dugum fana mbota wafirola wolu wano kulok suto program wala keta soma mbota wafirola mbese ila wada inata fo custom na la Johnson ngoto je li kata base o wira soto ilo taje wolu fana ngambor len dunta sana bora bala so wala kon wolu ngomu mo fa jita moto le kono fa fodoli en no ma fa wolu fana mborta sana bora bala so wala kono ngamuso mentara je fulamuso wala yala bunda ele ngel dunta je mbelorim palantero ton ke jube korda bunda to te.
They continued their harassment until one day there was a program in Soma. I went to sell. After selling my ware, I was there going home after the meeting ended because they had a meeting there. That day also they came with the same double cabin pickup. In fact, the main road on the way going to Basse, at the junction where you used to turn to go towards Basse in Soma, that's where they came and waited for me. They waylaid me. And I had to run and go into Kebaboraba's home, Saneboraba's home. There was a Fuller woman living in the compound who opened her door for me. I went into that house and I stood by the window looking at them. In fact, they followed me up to the compound gates, but I stayed in the compound looking at them through the window. The lady who opened her door for me is called Asanatu. I went into Asanatu's house.
These people that you're referring to as they, can you tell us who they were or who they represented?
Ikanyi molu menu foteng ikafo mena nyili menu ke batanditeng jumanyo lem nyiliti fo Allah ibe lorin jumanyo le.
nte fo no la nte te mo kilin sute no la wala ko an dum mo ko bari ngalon ko be lorim baba jobule because be sitere wala ya.
I cannot call names because I don't know them, but I know for one thing, they all were staying in Baba Job's compound, they were standing for Baba Jobe.
Your multiple arrests, did it have any effect on your marriage or your relationships?
Ila nyemuta fulo be faya kule sabu ila futuo to bang wala ila hadma ning ila molte mola.
No futu ayo bannet nko birin e kanyum muta o kenna ke o Senegal ko te lunkilin do na la fengo ka funyo mako wati ikanan te aresi kata muti katan sindi kan aresi kata muna amalo mune wode ate namanaje muso wati o kato selo kono wolun na letro safadi na silo muta saitaya.
My husband was a Senegalese. After my second arrest, he said he was fed up. Always, every time they come for me as a woman, they take me away, they go and lock me up. Then he cannot continue that. He decided to pack up his things and went back to Senegal. He wrote a letter to me and told me that he has divorced me.
How was that for you?
Ako we mune kela we yo ta nyadile.
O fende male kentala bawo nta mandi soto o wandi din kilingo la bembulu o wato wala kan samba ngado ko men kake yenna biri yemuta na faro men ngabara matutu na jambo betu tatinto kan taka ya be mala.
Well, that caused a lot of problems for me because that child was the only person I was having. In fact, that child was not my biological child. Then my husband left me. I cannot even farm because the rice that I prepared to go and transplant all dried up until fire came and burned all that rice which I prepared to go and transplant. Then my farming ended there. Everything got bad for me.
As a result of all these things that were happening to you, how did you feel personally for your security and that of the child you were having?
Akonyim kolu membebe ke kanyilateng. Ite fangula tanko. Ani wo dindingu membe bulu yo mbe karafara dindingu. Wo fanana tanko. Ya mutanyadile.
Ole ati namborta nataja.
That's what made me leave Jarasoma to come and stay in Talinding.
Thank you very much, Mbakasama, for answering all of my questions.
And
thank you for coming to the TRRC to tell your story. I'll now give the commissioners the opportunity to ask you questions that they wish to ask.
Ako silang abe kuobula la komisono lubulu memme yininkar soto ifanalu kono isi yininka.
Chairman, the witness is yours.
Ako Chairman Sedo Felenti.
Thank you very much, Council, and thank you very much, for your testimony.
Chairman ko ako inumbara council inumbara mba kasamanding puru ila CDRO me yakijang.
And we are truly sorry that you were the subject of some relentless harassment.
Ako isi haketu ye nyim mantoro mele kanteng isi haketu akatam fanali ni kuyati amandi am fanali fereng.
Commission members, if you have any questions, please indicate.
Komisionalu ni meme nyininkaro soto isaitandi.
Jones, you have the floor, please.
Commissioner Jones, wala kane nyininka.
Thank you, Chairman.
Ako inumbara Chairman.
Ms. Kate, I have one question for you.
Madam Keta, abe nyininkar kilina.
Regarding the voter registration process.
Menketa o register do koti nungo tembo.
You mentioned that non-Gambians were allowed to vote.
Yenyum foko luntangolu ye register di la police carte o fay.
Sorry, let me rephrase. Non-Gambians were allowed to register.
Ako yenyum foko ye luntangolu bula ye register ta pour ka carte o fay.
Do you know if they held valid Gambian ID cards?
Fodung yenyi lonna bang fodung Gambia banku ding kaito be bulu le bam memmu kaiti sobe oti ID card.
Mo ID card jebul.
I didn't see any ID cards with them.
Thank you. My second question is in regards to Asanatu.
Ako ala nyining ako inumbara ala nyining kar fulanjang wala tilinta asanutu la kuwala idunta men na bunkono.
the lady who provided temporary shelter to you?
wala musome yala bunda yeleye sane bora bala suokono.
Was she harassed after you left her house at any point in time?
Ako biri bota wala bunkono isaita kuri manna bula ofanan no maka adewundi.
Ninko malong fondun ta wala boko ba we benno malan tebe borkan.
Well, I think they didn't know that I went into Asanatu's home because when they were following me, I was running helter-skelter until I went into that house.
Thank you. No further questions.
Inumbara kama nyininkaro sutu.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. You have the floor.
Chairman nolanko wala kane nyininka, Madam Sose.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Ako inumbara sirantio, inumbara sedo.
What I want to know is, where is the child that you were taking care of at that point in time?
Ako alafta mellonna dindingu membe karafari bulu wotumo, dindingu be mintole nu wotumo.
Rumo ngawtu laaro suoko na.
I left the child at home. Ako nyintemben dindingu nyintemben sainten dindingu be mintole.
Abe ya suoko na.
I left him at my house right now.
Okay, what I really need to know is, was he able to complete his education and what he's doing right now?
Akala after mello na fo dindingu na ta continue karamola le bang al fokata bula nyin temben na dindingu be munela nyin tembeng sainte.
Sainte amantara fenna be sirin.
Right now he's doing nothing, he's just sitting down. Bara ala karango banna bang.
Karawonya ngayo banna.
Yeah, he completed his schooling but he's jobless and sitting down.
Thank you.
Ako inumbara.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Samba. You have the floor.
Chairman ko inumbara. Commissioner Samba wala kane nyininka.
I wanted to ask whether she is married.
Akabe nyininka la fo sayendu ifutu tale bang.
Unenginante mo hanibe mamfutu mbe sirin.
I'm just sitting down from that year up to this present day. I'm not married. I'm just sitting down.
Mama Dabo, he is talking about Mama Dabo, that Mama Dabo is the one who used to give her food. Are they in the same cell or are they?
Ako Mama Dabo menke mako domoro to nu. Foyo fana mutala be kasolla ya soronne bang fodun abe nyaadi lo be mintole nu.
Mama Dabo be je do ko la mo je police ole mo je.
Mama Dabo was a police woman who was working at the prison there.
Thank you very much, Would you have any concluding remarks, to make? Mrs. Keita, if you do, please proceed.
Akabe numbara la bake ita fanan saying ingani yo momenti lafta makamulu menu fala Gambian kolie ako nin kuma beda isi ofo saying.
My apologies, apparently, as the commissioner asking for the floor.
Ako isi haketu commissioner dobi je menyanta men lafta nyinin karola.
Imam C, you have the floor.
Imam C wala kane nyinin ka.
Samandin sagan yo fan lañ joge won.
Ako ela oluntangolu wolu bota min tole menu bela sokonunu.
Bota Guinea.
They are from Guinea. Gaya ngi joge Guinea.
Ñom ñaata la ñoon.
Ako itolu mo jelle munu.
Menu bente ya suokono mu muso na kelete ana doma.
Who were living in my home was a lady and her husband plus their child.
Thank you very much. You may now proceed with your concluding remarks.
Ako inumbara bake mbaka samandin silan nin kuma beda ifanansi o fumuliye.
Mo benda si Gambia dingolo anim fango mbe ya marla men.
I have an advice for myself and Gambians.
Me yitan la Gambiano lako.
I would like to show Gambians that
saka asdo kulalo anyato onkolo.
Especially workers and especially the leaders.
Alkalol ni sefolo.
Alkalos and chiefs.
Ye banko dingol la nyanto dila.
Let them give Gambians their citizen rights, their rights.
Ye fata kamol la nyanto tinya.
Let them stop violating people's rights. This Gambia belongs to all of us. And we are all the same mother and father in this country. Let's be careful of each other. Let's give each other our rights. Let's stop troubling each other. Let's stop making others suffer. Especially women.
musolu ka musola nyanto tinya wadimi batalet.
To violate women's rights is very, very painful. I would like to advise Gambians to be very careful of that, especially the police and the soldiers, the chiefs and the alcalis.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Keta, for those wise words.
Chairman koy numbara Mrs. Keta ila okumakan kendo lukang.
We will take a 30-minute break and come back at 12 noon.
Minute tansabada hatala talantan influence murunanga continue.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Fear over electoral rigging rocks Zimbabwe as the country.
Yesterday, after listening to Prime Minister May's assessment of the state of the negotiations.